Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with a Founder. I'm Beck Bamberger, and we do this show because we want to find out why founders are crazy enough, frankly, to do venture-backed companies and why they take the risk and they do the agonizing journey or whatever path you want to say of doing a company from absolute nothing. And with us today is Julia Rodgers, who is a CEO of HelloPrenup, which, Julia, I love a company name where you're like, yeah, I can kind of guess what it does. It is about getting prenups done, which are surging in popularity, as you were just telling me, definitely as it relates to, only a couple of decades ago. Welcome, Julia. Thank you for being here.
Thank
All
you
the way
so
from
much for
Boston.
having me back. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm excited to be here.
So before we hit play on this or record, Julia, you threw out a stat to me that was notable, as in how many more people, specifically Gen Z and millennials, are looking to prenups. So do explain.
Yes. So about 15 years ago, there was a Harvard study that stated about 5% of all marriages had a prenup.
Only 5, which I'm kind of shocked by, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, prenups were just perceived very differently
yeah.
back then. Most recently, just a few years ago, there was a Harris poll that stated 47% of millennials and Gen Zs who are married or engaged to be married have a prenup. And I think that rise
Yeah,
in,
why? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really notable. And I think there are a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, people are getting married later, right? They're getting married on average at the age of 34 and a half. So by
Oh,
30,
it's already up to 34.
yeah,
Dang.
30,
Okay. That's
and
much longer than, yeah.
it's actually 37 on HelloPrenup's platform, right?
There you go. There
But
you
by
go.
but by 34 and a half, you have something to protect, right?
Yes.
So you may have started a business, you may have bought a home, you may have student debt, you may have inheritance coming down the line or trust distributions
Mm-hmm.
or, the kind of
Mm-hmm.
infamous bank of mom and
Yeah.
dad may be contributing to
Yeah.
your lifestyle. And all of that necessitates a prenup. I think in addition to that, we have this great wealth transfer that is underway.
Big time.
And what that states is $80 trillion of wealth is being passed down from boomers to their millennial or Gen Z children. And the best way to protect that wealth is with a prenup. And I think lastly, couples just look at marriage differently, right? 24% of millennials are children of divorce. We don't want to repeat our parents' mistakes. And the
Yes.
best way to make sure that you're on the same page prior to marriage with your future spouse is having those tough conversations, oftentimes done via a prenup.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, okay. Often done as a prenup. What are the alternatives, though? You just talk about it. You had a nice dinner and you said things like, why do people not sign up, Julia? Why do they say, oh, we're good? They're in the 53% or whatever.
I think a
What's
lot of
going
people,
on?
yeah, I think a lot of people are under the misconception that a prenup means you're planning for divorce. And that
Yeah.
is simply not true. I understand that a prenup is, I always say it's just as much an emotional document as it is a legal one. But
Yeah.
what I want people to remember, so my point in saying that is it has to be broached with sensitivity, with vulnerability around why it is important. But I think what people fail to remember is that even if you don't have a prenup, you still have one because your marriage is governed by the state.
That's
If
right.
you don't
Whichever
have,
state you're in. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
legislature is just deciding how your assets are held
Yeah.
and should be distributed in the event of a potential divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why not get a prenup to decide for yourself how you want your assets held, right? What that means to you and your lifestyle and your life goals with this person that you're marrying. And again, the best way to do that is a prenuptial agreement.
Mm-hmm. To clarify, just for everyone to understand. So if you do not have one, it is defaulting to the state in which you got married in
Yeah.
per the rules
No,
they have,
the
which,
state where you're getting divorced. And
the
that's
state you're
another
getting divorced. There,
That's another point. I mean, we live in a transient society, right?
yes.
So many people are work remote and
Yeah.
they move from state to state to state, and it doesn't really matter where you're located. So a lot of times people will get married and say, well, I'm getting married in California, and that's a community property state. So I know that when I get married, all of my premarital assets will remain separate. Anything accrued during the marriage will be community. But then they move to New York or Massachusetts, which are equitable distribution states. And maybe a judge is going to look at those assets very differently. For example, in Massachusetts, a judge can decide that upon a divorce, there are certain premarital assets that, based on the length of the marriage, and again, there are 18 factors, right, could be split. And so
Mm.
you may not have those same
Mm.
state specific laws to play by. And so without a prenup, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Mm.
Even if you understand your state's laws in the first place. Now, the vast majority of people getting married don't even they don't look into that.
No, of course not. Yeah.
So
But to your point, though, of I think the perception has changed of, oh gosh, if I'm getting a prenup, then it's just going to be like, we're going to get divorced or something. It's like, yeah, you buy a house and you're not like, oh my God, it's going to get flooded. It's going to get on fire in 2 days or 2 years or 20 years. That's why you buy home insurance. So I've always perceived it. And I think the story that is being more perceived now, it is an insurance policy on something you hope that never happens.
yeah, I mean, Beck, when you get in your car, what is the first thing you do? You fasten
You
your
put the damn belt on. Yep.
right. It's not because
Exactly.
you expect to get in an accident. It's just what
Yeah.
you do. And so I think
Yeah.
this is financial hygiene. I think all couples should be having these conversations at the bare minimum. I think if they're getting married, that's where the prenup conversations come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Be really effective to ensure that you're on the same page.
Mm-hmm. So you were, I take it, a divorce attorney because I saw you at 8 years at this
Yes.
last place that you were at. Hence, I'm sure this spurred you to realize, like, wow, this needs to exist more. But give us a little bit more of the why for this, because anyone could say, like, there's a lot of divorce people out there, a lot of
Yeah.
divorce attorneys. Why'd
Yeah.
you go, like, there has to be a better solution?
Yes. So I was working as an attorney
Yeah.
at a family law firm, a small boutique firm. And I was speaking to so many potential prenup clients, right? And so these were people who were engaged, already knew that they wanted a prenup to the extent they're calling a law firm to have a conversation about how to get one. And they had three main complaints, and these were mostly millennials, right?
Mm.
First and foremost, they didn't like how expensive it was.
Yeah.
Couples don't want to have to choose between the flowers or the prenup. And the
Good
minimum
point.
retainer at
Good
that firm,
point.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
$3,500 just for one side. So that's, you're
Oh,
approaching $7,500 total for a prenup in a best case scenario. And so a lot of couples would just say, look, I'm
let's
just not going
skip
to do
it.
this. Yeah, we're
We're
just
going to
going
get the flowers.
exactly. And
Wow,
then,
that kind of blows my mind though, Julia. Would
yeah,
you just be like,
it's
yeah,
expensive.
well, it's expensive. It's not just the blowing the mind of expensive. Yes, that's expensive, but that you would just go like, I'd rather have the white lilies. Let's
Oh,
just do that.
absolutely. I saw it all the time. And I mean, the second piece to that, which I think these three things are kind of compounded, which help make that decision, is they were getting married in a few months, right? Which is really common. People put off this conversation during the period of engagement. Most people are engaged for like 9 to 12 months, right? But they'll
Yeah,
wait until like
yeah.
month 8 to have the conversation. And so they would
Eh,
so my firm had a minimum requirement of 3 months, and most lawyers do because it takes time to draft and negotiate and redraft a prenuptial agreement with another
mm,
lawyer involved, and then you're working with your client, and you want to make sure that you're working through every
3 months.
scenario. It takes time, yeah.
Mm.
So these couples would be getting married in a few months and say, well, like now I'm out of time.
Ah,
And then the third issue, and this was the one that really got me, was they were like, why do we need to hire you, a divorce attorney, before we're even married?
ooh,
We talk about what we want in this agreement. Like we
good
just
point.
want it done, you know? And what that said to me, Beck, was they wanted more
Huh.
autonomy over the process. They had already negotiated. They had already talked about the terms. They generally knew what they want in it. And the fact that
Hmm.
they then had to each hire divorce attorneys at such a high cost and have
Yeah,
time dumped into this, they
yeah.
just walked away and said, I'm not going to do it. So
So it's a
that
crappy process again, which is the start of many tech
it's antiquated.
solutions. Yeah, it's
It's
antiquated
antiquated.
and it's nasty.
And I think that I think there are a lot of really great attorneys out there. The attorneys that
Sure.
I worked with and learned from at that firm are fantastic. And I think really were careful about how they communicated with clients about prenups and negotiated these terms. But at the end of the day, it's still a barrier to entry. It's still a reason for couples to just not do it. So that's where I realized if I could just leverage technology to help streamline this process in terms of cost and efficiency and time,
Mm-hmm.
I would have something that, would democratize access and allow more
Yeah.
people access to these legal protections that I deem so important. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
HelloPrenup was born.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then you even have it notarized. You get it notarized. Look at
Yeah.
this. Amazing. I'm on the
Yeah.
website looking at it. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it all without ever leaving your couch.
That's amazing. And for less than $600
That's
for a
right.
couple.
Yes.
Wonderful. Solutions, Julia, that are for like such obvious and nasty problems that you're just like, why is this not? Why can this not be taken? Let me ask you then, how long now on average does this process take when they go through Hello Prenup?
Yeah. So it really only needs to take you a few hours if you were to sit down and you were to just do it all in one sitting. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that can be exhausting, right? Because
Yeah,
there's a
that.
financial schedule. You need to like go into every bank account, get every balance.
Hmm.
You may want to hire an attorney. You want to really
Yeah, I
think
saw
through
that
these
option. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and negotiate these with your future spouse. Get on the same page, and in the platform prompts you through all of that. So on average, it takes about 2.5 weeks to
Way better
finish,
than 3 months.
but you can do it in a few days. And we have many, many couples who are down to the wire, and they do
Oh,
exactly that.
yeah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
getting married the next day. Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, you in many states you can, not in all states.
Wait.
Certain states
Yeah.
have requirements that
Okay.
will.
That was a question because I really don't know anything about the space. Like, do you have to get it before you get the stamp from the state to have a prenup? You can't get a prenup after your, well, that would kind of not be, not
Yeah,
the pre part. Doesn't make sense then. Yeah. So I guess there
a
is a
prenup.
ticking
Yeah, a prenup has to be signed, executed fully
before your
um,
nuptials,
before you get married, right?
hence
Before you
prenup.
are
Yeah.
legally married, right? If you
Oh,
get if you want to do this process after you're married, you can do a postnuptial agreement. Most states allow for postnuptial agreements, not all of them. And postnuptial agreements are a totally different animal, right? They're looked at
mm.
differently, they're enforced differently. Sometimes they're enforced differently based off of how long you're married. Again, it's all very
Oh.
jurisdictional dependent.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that if you are a fiance out there and you're considering one or the other, then you're like, should I push myself and get this prenup done, or should I just do a postnup? I'd go for a prenup because they're far more enforceable across the board. I
Hmm.
think it's cleaner. You have these conversations before marriage, and again, this is something that you should be taking seriously before your wedding. Don't wait until the last minute. You don't want to be in that
Yeah.
position.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and now with such a solution where it can be done in like 2 weeks, let's say, instead of
Yeah,
3 months or
even
several months,
hours. Hours. You can get it
hours,
done
just
in hours.
hammer it
Yeah.
away. Yeah. Julia, great. Okay. What's keeping you up at night as a founder?
What's keeping me up at night as a founder? That's a really question,
Totally.
Beth.
I totally went that way. Yeah.
Um,
Maybe you're like, yeah, nothing. Everything's good.
no, there's plenty of things.
Okay.
I think what keeps me up at night as a founder is always the question, are we serving our customers in the best way possible? Are we
Hmm.
distilling complex legal information down in a way that feels digestible, in a way that feels approachable to them? Are we doing a good enough job ensuring that when they are actively using our platform, they have easy access to the resources that they need to complete this agreement amicably, right? And so those are always things that we're improving upon. Um, but it's never easy, right? Like it takes a lot of time and energy and customer research to get to a point where you really feel like you understand where the pain points are, and then you can find solutions.
Hmm. Is there a pain point recently that you discovered that you're like, oh, that was surprising?
Recently we did some modifications to our platform, and it greatly impacted the experience of how some of our attorneys interact in the platform, right? Um,
Hmm.
and that is something that, you always have to remember as a founder, you know why you're making significant changes. You know why you're doing platform updates, but the user on the other end may not, right? And so you need to make sure that you take every possible step uh, to ensure that is a smooth transition. And I think that no matter how hard you try, there will always be something extra that you could have done, something more. And so, that's something that I think as a team we're always working on here.
Okay. From the attorney perspective, because yeah, now you got a couple of different audiences. How do you think of that experience? Because yeah, it's not just the couple; it's the optional attorney they might bring on board. So where does that component fit in here?
Sure. So attorneys use our platform too as a
Yeah.
marketplace. And so we have attorneys in over 48 states. We have hundreds of attorneys. And the way that the attorneys interact with their customers is very, very important to us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we have a really streamlined process for a reason. We have flat rate pricing for a reason. And one of the things that we have been so intentional about over the last couple of years while building is ensuring that we have attorney partners, those independent attorneys who are serving the customer um,
Mm-hmm.
throughout their experience on the platform. We want to make sure that uh, those attorneys are really focused on the quality of the experience. They're really focused on being educators in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
they're meeting with couples for about an hour, and they need to ensure that they can distill all of that information that is coming into them in less than an hour. They need to be the type of attorney who really cares, who's focused on the customer having a great experience and understanding the rights that they're waiving and understanding how this prenup is going to impact their lives. And so, again, I think the quality of the attorney, along with those individual personalities, can be very important.
Is there any shift you've seen, Julia? Because I've been reading more articles on this.
Yeah.
Of oh well, I chat GPT'd it, so it told me this and this. Oh, so we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Are you seeing any of this?
I'm seeing people talk about like on the internet, right? In
Yes.
various
Yes.
places,
Yes.
talk about AI prenups. And I think
Ooh.
AI prenups are
Ooh.
dangerous. I mean, I love the idea of leveraging AI in order to make the customer experience better, in order
Sure.
to better allow attorneys to better serve their clients. I think that is
Hmm.
appropriate use of AI. I think
There
what's
have been a lot of deployments of VC resources to legal
yes,
tech world, as we know, with
yes,
Harvey and various other ones. So
yes.
it's quite an area.
And
Yes.
like, I mean, some crazy percentage of those, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like 90% of that VC capital in legal tech has been allocated towards, the institutional side. So helping
Yes. Hmm.
attorneys serve their clients,
Exactly.
not helping the clients directly.
Yes.
I'm
True
consumer
point.
focused legal tech,
Yep.
right? That's my passion. So, again, I think when people go to AI and they expect AI to draft this, you know, fully valid and enforceable prenuptial agreement, they're being deluded. I mean,
Hmm.
AI cannot solve for each state requirement.
Hmm.
HelloPrenup has done that. AI isn't going to tell you that you need full and fair disclosure or whatever the state requirement be in that state for an enforceable document. A lot of times, AI doesn't even tell you you need financial disclosure. So when you remove all of the guardrails, you end up in this position where people are in no man's land. They're basically creating a document that's worth less than the paper it's printed on. They may not even know they need to notarize it. They may not even think that they need an attorney for certain waivers. And I think that's unfortunate because it's putting fiancés, it's putting partners in a position where they may live under this false pretense that they have a protection that they just don't.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so stay away from AI as it relates to such important information, such as your prenup, is the take-home of note
For
on
now,
that. For the
yeah.
now, for now, exactly. Julia, is there anything that for you, as we kind of wrap up here, that
Yeah.
has become clear to you lately?
Clear to me lately.
Yeah, just as a founder, just as someone
Yeah,
in this who's in this world doing all things.
I think one of the points that I I I think myself and my team have always embodied this, but it's become more clear the value in it lately is
Yeah.
authenticity. And really specifically, like authenticity over polish, right? Um, Beck, I think
Tell me
especially,
more.
yeah, I think especially for entrepreneurs, um,
Mm-hmm.
we try and like make everything perfect all the time, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
want our interviews to be perfect sound bites. We want
Mm-hmm.
our platform to be as clean and user friendly as possible all the time. But what I found in over the years, I mean, the last couple of years we've been doing this, in is that customers, investors, advisors, general public, even media, just they want authenticity, they want transparency, they want something real, they want to hear the
Mm-hmm.
real story, they want to hear the real struggles, they want to partake in the journey, right? And customers want to know that you are um, bought in on a personal level to the mission and the problem that you're trying to solve. And polish doesn't do that, right? No PR
Mm-mm.
teach you that. I think as a
It's
company,
very true. Yeah.
mission driven company, it's incredibly important that you are just authentically who you are, right? What's
And that
most,
might not be perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I want to ask you so much more, but we do have to wrap up because, for example, Julia, this is kind of a one and done thing, right? Like you get a prenup, you're good to go. There's not a reoccurring revenue component to this, is there?
correct. No, not right now.
Is this okay? Okay. Not right now. I like your answer. Okay. Julia, thank you so much for being on today. This is Julia Rodgers, who is the founder and CEO of HelloPrenup. It is exactly what it sounds like. Get
Yes.
a prenup, get it done in a few hours or 2 weeks instead of several months. Also, CEO on Shark Tank. We didn't mention that.
Yes.
How was that?
Shark
Must have
Tank
been
is
fun.
amazing. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was so much fun. We love working with Kevin and Nirav. So the sharks that we,
that you
grow-
went with.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Julia, have a great day. And
Thank
everybody,
you.
everybody, everybody, if you're getting married, get it done, not with AI.
Go to helloprenup.com and sign up.
Boom, there's our statement. There you go. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beth.